Shalom. As part of my January-February bulletin article, I talked about the practice of Duchenen. Duchenen is sometimes called Nisiyat Kapayim or Birkat Kohanim. All of these has to do with the blessing of the congregation on the high holidays and on the 3 pilgrimage festivals throughout the year, at least here in our community. I wanted to give a bit of an introduction on this video to a couple of aspects, not a comprehensive introduction, but a few aspects of Birkat Kohanim, the Duchenen, and I hope that this will clear up a couple of questions that many people have asked me about over the years. We're going to start by looking at the source inside the Torah for Birkat Kohanim. And it says in the book of Numbers, chapter 6, beginning with verse 22, and here's what it says. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons. Thus shall you bless the people of Israel. Say to them, the Lord bless you and protect you. The Lord deal kindly and graciously with you. The Lord bestow his favor upon you and grant you peace. Thus they shall link my name with the people of Israel, and I will bless them." It's pretty straightforward. Aaron, the high priest, and his descendants, the Kohanim, are given a special opportunity to be involved with the blessing of the children of Israel. Now, later on, the question of exactly how this will be carried out is described in Jewish literature from the Mishnah to the Talmud and beyond. It's clear that the Kohanim would bless the children not just in the desert, which is where Aaron was commanded to bless the children of Israel, but in the temple in Jerusalem, and then later on that practice was moved to synagogues. Now, the way the Duchenen is carried out differs depending on the community that you're a part of. The main distinction I want to make today is between the way they do it in Eretz Israel, the land of Israel, where they duchen at least every week, and in Jerusalem every day, with the way we do it here in the diaspora. In our community, again, as I said, we do Duchenen on the 3 pilgrimage festivals, Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot, as well as on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Now, part of the issue with the Duchenen is there are a few different questions, and as I talk to many of the congregants from our synagogue, as well as others, there's sometimes a bit of discomfort. On the one hand, this is a very, very powerful practice. For some people, it's the high point of the service because there's something perhaps mysterious about the Duchenen. There's something special and unique about it, which is unlike all the other parts of the service. For other people, as I say, it's a bit uncomfortable. They don't like that sense of mystery. They feel like there are a variety of aspects of this practice which trouble them. One of them is, who is actually doing the blessing when the Kohanim, the priests, go up onto the bima and they face the congregation and they recite these words that were found in the Torah, the part that I just read. Who's doing the blessing? Are the Kohanim themselves blessing the congregation, or is it God blessing the congregation? On the one hand, there are Jewish sources which say that when the Kohanim spread their hands, and I'll do it like this, I am not a Kohen, I don't have much practice with this, but when they go like this, that actually you can see the shin of the word Shaddai in that, and it is a sign that the Shekhinah, God's presence on earth, is shining through there. The import of that is that it is God who is blessing the children of Israel. True, the Kohanim have the opportunity to be involved with this in a unique way, but it is God who blesses the children of Israel, whether it was at the time of Aaron or today. So you have actually there the shin of Shaddai and the shin of the Shekhinah. By the way, if this looks like Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock, it's because he is a Kohen as well. So God is the one who is blessing the congregation through the good offices, let's say, of the Kohanim. Still, the Kohanim have a very important role to play. And there are people, both Kohanim and plain old Yisraelim, plain old Israelites like myself, who sometimes ask this sort of question about, well, what about that role of the Kohen? After all, The Kohanim today, in our congregation and without, are like all other people. They have perhaps faults. Perhaps they are not the greatest role model. Who are they, some people point and say, who are they to be blessing us? What if that particular Kohen is not particularly observant of Jewish law? He doesn't keep Shabbat or keep kosher. What if he is, we know him to be a particularly unfair person or someone who has cheated in business? Doesn't that disqualify a Kohen from going up and leading the Duchenen? Now, of course, it's not that Kohanim are more prone to those sorts of things. We might ask the same question about any Jew. But because the Kohen has that special role, again, Kohanim themselves say, maybe I shouldn't go up there and do that because, I'm not so observant. And again, the congregation may also have their questions about the Kohanim. So it's important to recognize that Jewish law is very clear on this point. There's an obligation for a Kohen who is present in the synagogue when we are doing the Duchenen to go up to the bima and be a part of it. There is a positive obligation, as a thou shalt, for a Kohen to do that. And there are very, very few things which prevent them from doing it. Now, Maimonides, actually, the Rambam, he puts this in a very interesting way. He says, of course, there are a few things, someone who has perhaps killed someone, and there are a few other very serious sins which would disqualify a Kohen in terms of their behavior, would disqualify them from being a part of the Duchenen. But overall, he says, this is a positive commandment, something that a Kohen should do. And even if there are things which they are not doing perfectly, which they are perhaps, even if they're a wicked person, he says, why would you say to a wicked person, don't do this mitzvah, which would then just make them more wicked in the eyes of the law? Overall, the point being is that a Kohen is encouraged and even obligated to be a part of the Duchenen, and neither the Kohen himself nor the congregation should question the Kohen as he participates in this very important ritual. It is not the level of spirituality or Jewish observance of the Kohen which affects this blessing, this bracha. It is God who affects it through the Kohanim. God needs the Kohanim to be a part of it. That is what is commanded in the Torah. But it is God ultimately who commands, who blesses the children of Israel, and in this case, blesses the congregation. One last piece that I wanted to add about this, although again there are many aspects of Duchenen that we could talk about, but one of the more peculiar practices that happens both in our congregation and I'm told in many others, it has to do with the choreography, let's say, of the congregation themselves when the Duchenen occurs. The Kohanim, they go up to the bima, they are facing the ark, and then at a certain point they put their talit over their head, and at just the proper moment they turn around and they say the blessing and begin the blessing. Now, they have the talit covering them, and they have their hands raised underneath the talit as well. Now, what are the congregants supposed to be doing at that time? Well, we are receiving a blessing. So it's very customary in many places, including our congregation, that some men and women who are wearing a talit will cover their heads with the talit. If you have children, actually even adult children sometimes, people will encourage their children to come underneath the patriarchs, let's say, the patriarch's talit, and they can be all together to receive that blessing. But one of the interesting things that you also see is that some people turn their back to the Kohanim. They turn away from the bima, away from the Kohanim, having their back to the Kohanim. It's peculiar just on the face of it because, after all, we are receiving a blessing. Why would you turn your back, literally, to a blessing? The origin of it may have to do something with the sense, two different aspects actually. One is that this is somehow a powerful blessing, that if God is shining through the hands of the Kohanim, it is somehow, we shouldn't look directly at it, and one way to make sure we don't look directly at it is to face away from the Kohen. But there is something more specific that is in the sources which may be part of the origin of this practice. The sources do say you're not supposed to look directly at the Kohen when the Duchenen is occurring. But the reasoning for this given is actually a two-parter. One is that if the Kohanim, and at this time it seems the Kohanim did not cover their heads with a talit, If the Kohanim are looking at the congregation, they might be distracted from reciting the words by looking at all the people looking at them. And so therefore, the congregants were instructed not to look directly at the Kohanim. The flip side is, we as congregants being blessed are supposed to focus on the words, not on the individual Kohanim, but feeling God's blessing in that moment. And we too shouldn't be distracted, and so perhaps we should lower our eyes so as not to be distracted by the individual Kohanim on the bima. Of course, both of these reasons are more, let's say, rational, technical reasons, so as not to be distracted from the idea of being blessed. It has nothing to do with somehow being worried that the power of the blessing will harm you if you look directly at the Kohanim or anything like that. And there are many rabbis over the centuries who have discouraged people actively from turning their back. Again, on the face of it, it seems very odd to turn your back when someone is blessing you. In addition, the Mishnah itself, the earliest strata of rabbinic literature, says that the blessing is supposed to be given face to face. And by turning our back, we don't follow the Mishnah's advice that the blessing should be received face to face. So this is one practice which I would love to see changed in our synagogue, and I would encourage those who watch this video and those who come for the next opportunity for Duchenen, which will be Passover, to think about this and approach this opportunity with an open heart by facing the Kohanim and being blessed face to face. Overall, as I said earlier, this is a practice which for some people is a bit uncomfortable. For others, it is the high point of the service. Here at our synagogue, I see it as a great opportunity, especially on these holidays, which are, we have heightened attention, thinking about our lives, thinking about our connection to God. It's a great opportunity to feel blessed. And our service and the Birkat Kohanim that is described in the Torah, which is translated into the Duchenen ritual, is really a great opportunity to feel blessed by God and to move forward into the rest of the year. And so I hope you will take that opportunity, and I know that we will have more opportunities here at Beth Am to talk more about this important practice. Thanks.